It's back. $1,400 stimulus checks to everybody in the nation because in the past 72 hours, I'm going to share with you some massive shifts that have happened with stimulus funds. Now, I have no idea what's going on. I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments down below. And also, if you want to know about $1,400 stimulus checks for Social Security, stick around to the end because I've got some updates for you on that. Now, as you guys know here on the channel, I just report to you the latest. I keep you up to speed with stimulus, Congress, the economy, Social Security, because take a look. A lot of people ask sometimes, COVID relief funds, where is the money going and who is watching it? Well, I'm watching it, and I'm reporting it to you here on the channel. And you guys, if I go missing here, you know I might have shared too much. I want to first share with you a clip from 4 months ago as I took a look at the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget's COVID money tracker. This is tracking the stimulus funds. You can see the boxes in the background. This was from 4 months ago. Back in June, I was in the middle of moving. And now I want you to pay attention to this video here at the legislative action, the orange bar. That is the amount of money that was passed by Congress in stimulus packages to go out for stimulus funds. Now, they had passed $6 trillion, and you're going to see how much was spent and how much was still available. And then after we take a look at this clip, it's only about 15 seconds. I'm going to share with you something very interesting here, and I'd love to get your thoughts. Now, legislative action in orange is how much was set aside by Congress. This is the stimulus packages. There was about $6 trillion set aside, and of that, as of today, there is $5.7 trillion that has been spent, and just last week, this was at 5.6. In other words, there was left over $400 billion. Now, with these clawbacks, it has set this down to $300 billion of leftover funds. All right, so that was back in June. That was 4 months ago. Now, in addition to that, take a look at the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget's COVID money tracker today. You can see here the legislative action says there's $5.8 trillion that's been spent, so apparently another $100 billion has gone out. But look, there's $6.2 trillion of legislative action that has been allocated. Now, I find this very interesting because take a look at this. House remains paralyzed with no end in sight for speakership battle after Jordan's exit. And this actually just came out yesterday. In other words, we do not have an active Congress because we do not have a Speaker of the House. And this has been going on for several weeks. Yet this change to the stimulus funds that have been allocated through legislative action, through Congress, just changed in the past 72 hours. So how can this be? How can money have shifted in this manner from Congress when we have not seen any legislation pass? Now, I would love to get your thoughts in the comments down below, but essentially what this means is that we have an extra $400 billion. I thought we only had $200 billion when I saw that another $100 billion was spent somehow, but now we've got $400 billion at our disposal magically. And if we scroll down here to the legislative action, you can see the direct payments that we had 3 stimulus checks. The largest was that $1,400 check, and it had a price tag of about $400 billion, which means that once again, $1,400 stimulus checks is a possibility to everybody in the nation. And I've shared with you this all comes as, at this current time, President Joe Biden is seeking $105 billion for Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan border security. He wants another $100 billion to go out to help out those foreign wars. And a lot of people are very upset by this because they're saying, listen, we've literally got $200 billion, well, now $400 billion of leftover stimulus funds that were meant to go out to help the American people that have not been allocated. It's literally just sitting there in bank accounts that could go out to help the American people. However, we're taking into consideration another $105 billion of new funds by Congress to send out to other people while we're dealing with record high inflation that's crushing the American people in their daily lives. And if we just took a little bit of this money, that's not new funds, just to clarify, not issuing anything new. This is leftover stimulus. It's extra budget. It's money that's just sitting there. We could distribute it out to help out a lot of people. We could send out stimulus checks to everybody in the nation of $1,400 or even half of it. Just send out $200 billion to send out like a $700 check, or take $100 billion and send it out to Social Security. $100 billion would literally cover every single one of the 71 million recipients to get a $1,400 stimulus check. Now, let me know your thoughts. There's a lot of people getting hurt right now. This would not be new funds that would add to inflation, and we're actually seeing around the world, China, Japan, several countries are starting to issue out new stimulus funds because of the pressure of inflation, and maybe President Joe Biden could do this. And a lot of people feel right now that President Joe Biden has not kept his promises to the American people. Critics say that Biden's COVID relief plan had broken the promise promise of $2,000 stimulus checks. We had never seen those $2,000 stimulus checks. We had heard them promised in the Georgia Senate runoff elections that if Raphael Warnock and Joan Ossoff had won, that we would see $2,000 stimulus checks. Well, they won, and then we did not see those checks. And a lot of people feel like President Joe Biden did not make good on his promise. And we actually heard this vocalized by Senator Bernie Sanders. Take a look. This was back in 2021 after that took place, and he said promises must be kept. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont pressured President-elect Joe Biden for $2,000 stimulus checks in tweets on Wednesday. With Democrats in control of the Senate, they won the Georgia Senate runoff elections. We must keep faith with the working families of this country. Promises must be kept. That means not only the $2,000 direct payments, but an aggressive agenda that recognizes the economic desperation facing so many Americans. Sanders' tweets followed the comments made by Biden supporting $2,000 stimulus checks during a Monday evening speech in Atlanta, where he was campaigning for Democrats Jon Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock in Georgia's Senate runoff elections. One state can chart the course, not just for the next 4 years, but for the next generation. By electing John and Reverend, you can make an immediate difference in your own lives and the lives of the people all across the country, because the election will put an end to the block in Washington on that $2,000 stimulus check. And that money will go out the door immediately to the people who are in real trouble. Wow, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But that's not the only promise that a lot of people feel like President Joe Biden has not kept. Take a look at this tweet back in 2020. This was during his campaign for president. We should also increase monthly Social Security checks by $200 per month as proposed by Senator Wyden and colleagues. Seniors and people with disabilities are uniquely at risk right now. And what did we see? The Social Security Expansion Act, introduced by Senator Bernie Sanders, which proposed literally this exactly $200 per month increases across the board for those on SSI, SSDI, retirement, all Social Security Administration benefits that go out. And President Joe Biden said it did not align with his ideals. And so far, we have not seen that bill come to fruition. And that is why we've seen the Senior Citizens League and several different groups call for $1,400 stimulus checks for seniors, Social Security stimulus checks. And the price tag on this is not as big as you might think. As a matter of fact, it's actually less than the $105 billion that President Joe Biden is calling to go out for war at this present time. Now, to get more information about the $1,400 stimulus check for Social Security, how much it might cost, the possibility of it, and how badly it is actually needed at this time, and how other countries are sending out stimulus right now, check out this video right here next as I cover it in detail for you. And you guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I have no idea what's going on with the funding right now, especially while Congress is actually not even in session. Something is going on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.